with multiple choice questions with respect to microeconomics, which is the special economics subject for SYBA. So let's get started. The first question is, microeconomics deals with dash consuming or producing units, whether it deals with individual units, that both consuming as well as producing units, or whole consuming or producing units, or rational consuming or producing units. So here, as far as microeconomics is concerned, it deals with individual units, both consuming as well as producing units, and therefore the correct option or correct answer to this particular question is option A, individual. When it is macro, it is economy as a whole or aggregates of the economy. When it is microeconomics, it is individuals. So therefore microeconomics deals with individual, consuming as well as producing units. I hope this question is pretty much clear. Let us now move to the next question, which is talking about microeconomics involves the study of determination of what. So microeconomics helps in determination of what all things. So first, the option is prices, the second option is revenue, the third option is costs, and last is all of the above. That means microeconomics involves the study of determination of prices, study of determination of revenue, study of determination of costs, and all of the above. So here the correct answer is option D, all of the above, because microeconomics involves the study of determination of costs, prices as well as revenue, and therefore option D, all of the above, is the correct answer to this particular question. The next question is talking about the basic economic problems or central economic problems, and the question is framed in this fashion. The basic economic problem involves decisions regarding what. The other way in which this question can be asked is, instead of basic economic problems, the central economic problems of an economy. So let us look at the underlying options. A, what to produce. B, how to produce. C, for whom to produce. Now A is talking about what goods and services to be produced. B is talking about how do you produce such goods and services, which kind of technology you will be using, whether it will be labor intensive or capital intensive technique or technology. Thereafter, it is talking about for whom to produce, that means what is your target audience, and the last is all of the above. So the basic economic problems are of choice and the central economic problems are of choice, and these choices are with respect to what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce, and therefore option D, which is all of the above, is the correct answer to this particular question. I hope the question is pretty much clear. Let us now move to the next question, which is talking about the significance of microeconomics, and the question is framed in this fashion. Which of the following explains significance of microeconomics? Let us look at the options. First is, it explains working of economic system. It also helps in describing free enterprise system. Then it also explains price policy formulations and all of the above. So these are all in a sense significance or denotes significance of microeconomics. That means microeconomics helps us to explain the working of economic systems. It also helps us to describe free enterprise economy, as well as it helps in explanation of price policy formulation, and therefore option D, all of the above, is the correct answer to this particular question. I hope the question is pretty much clear. Let us now move to the next question, which is talking about the theoretical contribution of microeconomics, and the question is framed in this fashion. The theoretical contributions of microeconomics involves dash. The theoretical contributions of microeconomics involves dash, and the underlying options are: A, it helps in understanding working of free enterprise system. It also helps in understanding the allocation of resources or the utilization of resources. It also helps in determination of prices, and all of the above. So here, in a sense, all these three things, that is the working of or explanation of working of a free enterprise system, or allocation of certain resources and fuller utilization of certain resources, as well as determination of prices, in a sense denote the theoretical contributions of microeconomics, and therefore option D, all of the above, is the correct answer. Since most of the questions have all of the above as the answer, it is because in the same question with respect to the multiple choice or objectivity sort of the way in which we are dealing with these concepts, it is easier for us to understand the concept taking into account all the possible aspects associated with that particular concept. That is why I am taking majority of questions which have all of the above as the answers. So this will help you at least build up your idea of what can be the concept itself. I hope the question is pretty much clear. Let us now look into the practical contributions. Now these were the theoretical contributions of microeconomics. Let us now move to look at what are the possible practical contributions of microeconomics, and the question is framed in this fashion. The practical contributions of microeconomics involves dash, and the underlying options are: it helps in understanding international trade, then it helps in understanding public finance, it helps in understanding linear programming, or it helps in linear programming, and all of the above. So here all these three things, that is explanation, or it is helpful in understanding international trade, public finance, as well as linear programming. All these three things are in a sense talking about the practical contribution of microeconomics, and therefore option D, all of the above, is the correct answer to this particular question. I hope the idea of both the theoretical contribution as well as the practical contribution of microeconomics is pretty much clear with the help of these two questions. Let us now move to understand what is the difference between or what denotes the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics, and the question is framed in this fashion: which of the following denotes difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics? And the underlying options are: individuals and aggregates, that means micro is talking about individuals, macro about aggregates. Then we have slicing and lumping method. The first one is using slicing, the other the lumping. Then micro variables like prices, and macro variables like national income or aggregate demand, and all of the above. So here in a sense all these 3 points are talking about the distinction between microeconomics and macroeconomics, and therefore option D, all of the above, is the correct answer to this particular question. I hope the question is pretty much clear. Let us now move to the next question, which is a definition sort of a question. And it is like this: dash is a mathematical technique of stating symbolically the relation between two variables. It is a mathematical technique of stating the symbolic relationship between two variables. What do you call such a thing? You call it function, you call it equation, you call it a graph, or none of the above. Now this question is particularly related to the tools for economic analysis, and here the correct answer is A, function. A function is a mathematical technique of stating symbolically the relationship between two variables. So I hope this question is pretty much clear. Let us now move to the next tool or the next question with respect to tools for economic analysis. Dash is an important way of representing functional relationships. How do you represent functional relationship? What do you call such an arrangement? Whether you call that arrangement to be functions, you call that arrangement to be equations, graphs, and none of the above. So here equations are an important way of representing functional relationships, and therefore option B is the correct answer. We now know what functions are, and we now know what equations are. Functions are just a mathematical technique of representing or noting or talking about the relationship between two variables. Here what is happening is, here there's a representation. In terms of economics, there's a representation of the functional relationship between the variables. So I hope these two concepts are pretty much clear. Let us now move to the next question, which is: dash are empirical or hypothetical data whose functional interconnections we wish to investigate. So what can be called as this? That is, they are empirical data sets whose functional interconnections we wish to investigate, and the underlying options are: A, equations, B, schedules, C, graphs, D, none of the above. So here it is pretty much clear that it is the schedules. I hope you guys have studied something called as demand schedules or supply schedules. So a demand schedule is just a tabulation of data with respect to quantity demanded vis-a-vis the price of that particular commodity, and we are going to investigate the relationship between the two, which is very representative in terms of law of demand per se in microeconomic analysis. So I hope this question is pretty much clear. Schedules are empirical or hypothetical data whose functional interconnections we wish to investigate. So this was the third tool, which is schedules. Let us now move to the next question, which is talking about dash is a way of representing functional relationship. Dash is a way of representing functional relationship between two variables, whether it is equations, whether it is schedule, whether it is graph, or none of the above. So now we have an idea of what equations are. We know what equations are, then we know what schedules are. The underlying option which is available with us is graphs. None of the above cannot be the answer, so therefore graphs is the correct answer. Graphical way of representing functional relationship between two variables. Yeah, you are doing it on two planes. So I hope this question is pretty much clear. Let us now move to the last question in this segment. The question is in mathematical modeling, dash variable represents a quantity whose value depends upon independent variables or the underlying changes in independent variable. In mathematical modeling, a variable represents a quantity whose value depends upon the underlying changes in the value of independent variable. What do you call such a variable? Whether it is a dependent variable, whether it is an independent variable, whether it is equations, or none of the above. So here it is clear that the dependent variable has to be the thing in question here, because the value of the same is changing with respect to the corresponding changes in independent variable, and therefore option A, dependent variable, is the correct answer to this particular question. So in mathematical modeling, dependent variable represents a quantity whose value depends upon underlying changes in the independent variable. So I hope these questions are pretty much clear. In the next session, I'll continue with the same chapter and probably incorporate some of the questions from chapter 2 as well. So please stay tuned for more. Thank you.